On this episode of Reports by Friedhoff, the topic is Eminent Domain and how intervention between universities and communities can play a major effect. To start off in this report, I visited an old family friend down at St. Louis City Hall who owed me a favor. It was here I was hoping to learn a little more about Eminent Domain.
Mayor Francis Slay, I want to thank you for taking the time to meet with me today. I'm honored to meet with you in your office and discuss a hot topic in the city. You look great, by the way.
I am more than happy to meet with you today and talk about St. Louis City, gateway to the west, the Mountain City, that place with the arch.
I actually didn't want to talk about St. Louis specifically, but I wanted to discuss a topic that you should be an expert on.
Did you know that we are known for more than just crime? We also have the Cardinals.
If you are so intent on discussing the city right now, aren't those police sirens going off outside?
I don't hear anything.
Actually, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what they were. Regardless, what I'd like to discuss with you today is actually the hot topic of eminent domain.
Eminent domain is a tricky subject. There are lots of factors to consider when it comes to what is best for the community.
Well, I'm aware that eminent domain is the power of a governmental entity, federal, state, county, or city governments, school districts, hospital districts, or other agencies to take private real estate for public use, with or without the permission of the owner. The Fifth Amendment of the Constitution does provide that private property may not be taken for public use without just compensation. The 14th Amendment added the requirement of just compensation to state and local government takings. The usual process includes passage of a resolution by the acquiring agency to take the property, including a declaration of public need, followed by an appraisal, an offer, and then negotiations. If the owner is not satisfied, he or she may sue the government agency for a court's determination of just compensation. The government, however, becomes owner while the trial is pending if the amount of the money offered is deposited into a trust account. Public uses include schools, streets, highways, parks, airports, dams, reservoirs, redevelopment, public housing, hospitals, and public buildings. But I'm sure that's what you were going to say anyways.
Are you aware that your own school of SLU was a major focal point of the use of eminent domain?
I actually wasn't aware of that. Could you talk more about that?
Next time, why don't you do your homework before you come see the mayor of a thriving city who is clearly very busy?
I'm actually pretty sure I just gave a fairly thorough definition just there, which filled the need of why this part of the project was made. Plus, didn't the city just lose 30,000 people in the latest census?
That is if you want to believe everything the government tells you.
Did you just air quote the word government, Mayor Francis Slay?
We also have Bud Light in our city.
Now I'm pretty sure you're just deflecting here, Mr. Mayor.
You know, not every mayor also has a black belt.
Francis Slay, are you drunk right now?
So? I like you. I bet you voted for me last election and will vote for me again.
Well, I've apparently gotten all I'm going to get out of you today. But if you must know, I'm actually still registered in Charlotte, North Carolina, and haven't changed my voting residency since moving here.
Get out.
Well, thank you for your time, I guess.
High five.
Okay.
My interview with the mayor had at least given me a starting point. But when it came to learning about eminent domain and specific examples pertaining to St. Louis University, I'd have to use all the tricks in a journalist's trade to learn what I needed to learn. It would turn out my next stop would be much more fruitful than my meeting with the mayor. At this point, one might question how eminent domain relates to intervention in higher education. Although intervention on a personal student level doesn't come up very often, as it turns out, university administrators find themselves intervening between the government and the local communities that have invested interest in the neighborhood when the institution is trying to expand. The mayor was actually right when it came to SLU in the past. In the 1950s, with the use of eminent domain and federal money, St. Louis embarked on what they called the Mill Creek Valley Renewal Project. Acres of deteriorating slums were cleared out for a revisioning of urban living. Much of this fell in line with the Pruitt-Igoe projects being built. Although a huge swath of land was cleared out from Grand to about Union Station downtown, the development did not follow as planned. SLU was more than happy to buy up land to expand its overly cramped campus, and of course, the city was happy to sell the land they had bought using eminent domain to gain some money. The issue here was that SLU was a religiously affiliated institution, and it looked like the state had used eminent domain for the church, completely going against separation of church and state. Through university and court intervention, a court case decided that even though a university may be private and religiously affiliated, eminent domain can be used to secure land for its growth since universities overall serve the benefit of the community. This little trip down memory lane leads us to cases of universities involved in eminent domain and how administrators' intervention can mean a lot. There are both good and bad cases of eminent domain being used by the local administration. One example involved Harvard in the 1990s, which had been purchasing individual plots of land under the names of different real estate organizations since the 1980s. Harvard had acquired more than 50 non-contiguous acres of land in different parts of Allenstown, a community across the Charles River from Cambridge. Once discovered, these clandestine purchases created tense relations between the Allenstown community and the city of Boston, and the Boston Redevelopment Authority. Harvard decided to use third parties to purchase the land to avoid being charged unreasonably high prices by sellers who thought they could name their price if Harvard were the buyer. This is a common fear many universities have today. Harvard now purchases all of the properties under the university's name and is working to improve its relations with the city of Allenstown by providing new services and retail opportunities. Harvard has already paid a high price to regain the trust of the city and the community, and it still has work to do, but eminent domain has not been used in this specific case, but the principle remains the same. An example that actually did have eminent domain used was Columbia University in New York, which has been the center of a lot of debate even recently. Even before using eminent domain, the university was having secret conversations with the state to pursue the options in order to acquire a large tract of land in the upper town of Manhattanville. Word leaked out, and students, professors, and community members were in an uproar of the thought of using eminent domain. One court case ruled out the university's right to use eminent domain, but a higher court more recently just approved it, and the university is moving forward to develop the land. Needless to say, due to administrators' poor intervening, they have a strong negative public image right now in the community that they currently reside. A positive use of expansion projects enjoying the best community relations was the University of Pennsylvania's redevelopment of a local street corridor. Penn's development process went relatively smoothly because it did not take any action without consulting its community. This is not to say that Penn has acted perfectly, but the main setbacks that Columbia and Harvard had faced were the result of secrecy. In the long run, being open pays off. The formula included creative ideas, and most importantly, the realization that Penn is a member of the community and therefore has a vested interest in working closely with the West Philadelphia community. In conclusion, it's not so much playing an interventionist as a staff member working for a university, but working to be a mediator to keep open lines of communication when a university is trying to expand into public property that surrounds its campus. Thank you for joining us this week.
What's your name, young man?